Greetings and salutations everybody, welcome back. This is video 4 in a series, and for those who are new, I like to make these videos about stuff I enjoy and want to share, usually about film, and lately it's been a lot of 80s throwback and horror films. And if you enjoy what you see here, please consider subscribing and hitting that little like button as well, and hitting that bell icon, so that way you get notifications for when I put up new content, which is once or twice a week. And be sure to check out my back catalog and share all this around, as it really does help out quite a bit. Well, as I said, this is video number 4, so I will link to parts 1, 2, and 3 in the description, and some on the ending screen as well. But because what I'm doing is like what I did with the Friday the 13th films, is that I'm revisiting the Nightmare on Elm Street film franchise, kind of because there were a lot of these that I hadn't seen in a very long time. So this one I'm back for is for A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, The Dream Master from 1988. This is where the franchise, in my opinion, starts to deviate from horror and more toward, well, I mean, still horror, but of course, we're just leaning into the comedy a lot more with this one. This is where I feel like they started to really make those changes. But anyways, the synopsis for this is as follows. Freddy Krueger returns once again to terrorize the dreams of the remaining Dream Warriors, as well as those of a young woman who may be able to defeat him for good. So, it had been easily more than 20 years since I had sat down to watch this one. I remember previously thinking that it was okay, but not as good as Part 3. Not as good as Dream Warriors, and, or as good as the first one. But the first thing which really jumped out at me as I went to spin this one up, which, yes, I did spin it up, it was an actual physical media, was the Dream Warriors. You see, somehow I had absolutely no memory that Joey or Kincaid were in this. But as some of their scenes kind of unfolded, there were things about those scenes that I had a dim recollection of. But even more, I had no idea, like no memory at all, even to the point where I doubt I ever caught on to this when I was younger. The fact that Tuesday night, not to be confused with Catterday night, this is a lead actress of the film, not a lonely little YouTube person here, took on the role of Kristen for this film, which is previously played by Patricia Arquette. So, yeah, it was a lot of stuff to try to remember that, like I said, some of it I had no memory of, some of it, the memory was so faded and so just gone that I kind of doubt that I ever caught on to it. But basically, we get ourselves the 3 survivors from A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3 Dream Warriors back in play, and Freddy is trying to find a way to use Kristen, meaning, her ability to pull others into this dream, as a way to kind of get to her and to these other surviving Elm Street kids. Get them into a dream where he can take them out. But we also have a character named Alice, who is our Dream Master. She's kind of like a Sylar or Pokemon kind of thing, where she somehow is able to take on the dream world abilities and some other abilities of the people who are killed in these dreams. So as they are getting taken out, including Kristen, she then kind of gains some of that ability, so now she can do more within the dream. If I'm remembering it well, because this film was, it's a bit jumbled and it leaned into the comedy a bit too much. So too much of this well-lit Freddy, so we don't get that mystery of this creepy man hiding in the shadows as compared to the others. And I remember this being the first one where I felt like they were starting to make us root for Freddy, but I couldn't remember exactly how. But on this viewing, I think I can finally put some words to my feelings about that on this film. Is that first off, just keep in mind it's still fun, no matter what, it is still a fun film. Not as scary as the others, not as much mystery, but still fun. Second, they seem to be looking for interesting situations and kills rather than working from a solid story to then work those kills into. As if somebody saw a commercial about a Roach Motel and then thought, oh, it'd be cool if we had Freddy say a funny one line about checking in but not checking out. Like, we can work that into a kill for Freddy. Or, let's write a scene around that and see if we can work that into the story somehow. Or, hey, faces on pizza, that would be cool. How do we work that into the story? And it just kind of reminded me of the Tim Burton film Ed Wood, where Ed is meeting with some producers trying to sell these ideas for movies. But he's starting with just a title, as he talks about Dr. Acula or Bride of the Atom. He starts with, here's a title, give me money for the movie. And I felt like this was a situation where they started with, let's come up with some cool ideas for how Freddy can kill people, and see if we could plug that into the story. We'll bring the kids back from the third one. Oh, Patricia Arquette's not available? That's fine. We'll get somebody else. It doesn't really matter. And they just kind of pushed it on through. So, you know, on my previous franchise revisit for Friday the 13th, it seemed to go very differently, that they lead with the situation the victims are in, and how Jason is either brought back or where he's kind of heading to, and then him killing people along the way. Like, he's going from point A to point B. When we need to get to this ending, we need to find a way for him to either be defeated or seem like he's defeated. So let's come up with a couple kills along the way that follows that storyline. This felt like they went for the kills first, and then they tried to work in some sort of a story afterward. But, yeah, so it didn't really, I don't know, didn't really do it for me as much. You know, throughout it seemed to just be, you know, throwing things at the screen, seeing what would stick, you know. Stuff that was never mentioned or dealt with before, plot points coming out of left field, killing off some characters way too easily, and putting the importance on the puns and the situation and that kill over everything else. Now, I know that this seems like a bit of a negative spew that I'm kind of going on here, but overall I still enjoyed it. You know, I just had to look at it from a different point of view, because from what I can gather, a few other things I found out was that the budget was about $2.5 million more than the previous film. And they got a lot more elaborate with the effects. You know, everything's way over the top. They've kind of stoked the fires of concentrating on the kills since they had the budget for it, adding fuel to the whole less is more phrase that I hear a lot about horror movies. I mean, I've seen some horror movies in recent years made for anywhere between 4 and 8 million, which adjusted for inflation is much cheaper than this film, and they pull it off quite well because they go for the substance rather than those kills. So it's still fun to check out, you know, but you know, one needs to kind of go into this, you know, either for the first time or on a revisit, knowing that this is where things are changed up a little bit, and then I think, you know, can still be enjoyed. So, more for show, more for fun, more for the situation and the kills and the effects. But while it falls flat compared to what came before it, especially part 3, I still think it's worth checking out for some cheesy fun. And, you know, speaking of checking out, thanks for checking out my latest little video here. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe. Hit that bell to get notifications when I put up new content. I'm hoping to have one of these out, like I said previously, every single Monday through to Halloween. So, yeah, be sure to follow all those YouTube things, and I will see you in the next one.